What Bubba Wallace did was not enough, and now he made a big mistake again after Las Vegas, regarding which NASCAR legend directly criticized Bubba Wallace's silence after the Kyle Larson crash. According to him, the suspension of Bubba Wallace for just one race is not enough, and he should pay more. So who is this criticizer behind Bubba Wallace, and what does he want? Want to know? Then stick to the video, as NASCAR Zone is here to get your heads clear. But before we begin, do subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. There is no surprise in knowing about what Bubba Wallace did at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but what he did after that was not acceptable to everyone. Bubba Wallace won the first stage, and it looked like he was driving a car that could win the race. However, Kyle Larson crashed into him in the second stage, and he lost his chance to win. This crash made Bubba Wallace lose his mind, and he got very angry. Out of anger, he retaliated against the number 5 Hendrick Motorsports car, which sent both cars flying off the rack and into the wall. Unfortunately, Christopher Bell was also in the way and got hit. But that wasn't the end of Wallace's mistakes. He was just getting started, and a few seconds later, he made another one. Later, he got out of his car and walked across a hot track to get to Larson, where he pushed him several times after he refused to do what a safety worker told him to do, including pushing the worker's hand away. The driver left because he didn't want to ride in the ambulance to the infield care center. Fans talked about what the punishment would be for the next few days. NASCAR gave Wallace a one-race suspension as his penalty. According to NASCAR CEO Steve O'Donnell, the suspension was strangely based only on the on-track incident and not on anything Wallace did after the accident.
Our actions are really specific to what took place on the racetrack. And when we look at, how that incident occurred, in our mind, really a dangerous act. We thought that was intentional and put other competitors at risk. As we look at the sport and where we are today and where we want to draw that line going forward, we thought that definitely crossed the line, and that's what we focused on in terms of making this call.
But for others, this was not just it. His one-race suspension was not enough for the actions he did against Larson. Was it right of Bubba Wallace to retaliate or not? Give your thoughts in the comments section below. So who is this NASCAR legend who criticized NASCAR decisions for Wallace? Any guesses? It's no secret that Kyle Petty has a reputation for providing some rather hot takes. Throughout the course of this year, he has set his sights on Kyle Busch many times. The 62-year-old NBC broadcaster joined the discourse over the Bubba Wallace penalty, expressed his comments on the situation, and didn't hold back in giving his opinion on the matter. According to Kyle Petty, Bubba Wallace ought to be suspended for the rest of the year. In an interview on Motor Mouths this week, Kyle Petty discussed the race that took place last weekend in Las Vegas and the biggest topic to come out of it, which was what took place between Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson. Petty went off when he was asked what he felt about NASCAR's response and the penalty that was given to the driver of the 2311 racing team.
He should have been suspended for the rest of the year.
Wow.
Rest of the year. Okay. He drives for Denny Hamlin, who has been vocal about safety. His teammate, the only reason he's in the 45 car is his teammate's career was all but ended because of an accident in this car that the drivers has vocalized that it needs to be safer. He turns a guy in the right rear into the outside wall intentionally, steering brake, that's laughable, okay? Turns a guy into the outside wall, then walks across the racetrack. First, you intentionally wreck somebody. That's a suspension. He's walking across the racetrack and cars are going by him on both sides. That's not safe. That should be another suspension. Physically confronts a driver, shoves him. That's a physical confrontation. If I do that on the sidewalk, I'm in handcuffs somewhere, okay? So he physically confronts this driver, shoves an official, doesn't get in an ambulance, walks back to the pits, and then stands and bold-faced tells a fib, I'm being nice, to my man here, Marty Snyder, who did a great job in your interview. I will give you that. So the lesson should be the rest of the year, just the rest of the year, and that's just me.
Do you also agree that Bubba Wallace should not have done a physical confrontation with Kyle Larson? Let us know in the comments section below, and do subscribe to our channel for future updates. Earlier in the season, Petty was very critical of Kyle Busch. The comments that Kyle Petty made about the Wallace penalty are simply the most recent of his controversial statements. In August, prior to the race at Watkins Glen, the former driver discussed Kyle Busch. At the time, Busch was in the midst of contract negotiations with a new team and had stated that he did not want to spend more time away from his family with the new organization. Petty criticized the two-time Cup Series winner for his performance. Petty remarked, "Larson's earned the right to ask for a lot of money, but if the market won't bear it, tough stuff guy." Petty was referring to the fact that he had earned the right to ask for a lot of money. The situation is the same in every industry. This is a commercial enterprise. Though it's a game, on the other days of the week, it's a business. There are times when you have to make concessions. You need to present a different image. This story ought to serve as a lesson for all of the aspiring young race car drivers out there. You are only worth as much as the market is willing to pay for you, irrespective of the number of victories you have. This person has triumphed in 60 different events and won 2 championships. It doesn't matter what you do as a winner. You still have to engage in activities away from the racing track. And it's not just us. The times are shifting. We will need to adapt as things progress. It's going to be necessary for him to make some concessions. It will be necessary for Larson to adopt a rather distinctive appearance. It is not possible to both have your cake and eat it. There are times when we really must be away from home. That is just the way things go when we are in the business of driving race cars. And Petty apologizes for being so direct about it. But Larson has to make concessions from where he is right now and figure out what works for him and his family, as well as for the sport, as long as he wants to continue driving a race car. Kyle Petty may or may not truly believe the things that he says, but he is certainly aware of what he is doing when he says those things. He's an entertainer. His comments are made with the intention of eliciting a response. When Marty Snyder questioned him on Kyle Busch's decision to leave Joe Gibbs racing for Richard Childress Racing a month ago, he went on another rant in which he stated that this is exactly what happened. Petty began by saying, "Welcome to Kyle Petty's world, and embrace the hate when it comes," after which he suggested that the KGR driver's move was a step backward in his career, and also said that Busch was past his peak. Petty is aware that there will be a response to 2 of his statements. The first is that Busch's decision is a step backward, and the second is that he is past his prime. The same can be said of his claims regarding Wallace. What do you think? Is Kyle Petty right to suspend Wallace for a year? Let us know in the comments below. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more of our incredible videos. Look forward to seeing you in the next video.